Disclaimer. This video contains intense and frightening content meant for entertainment purposes. It may include scenes that some viewers may find disturbing or unsettling. We recommend viewer discretion, especially for those sensitive to horror themes or with underlying medical conditions that could be affected by intense content. The events portrayed in this video are entirely fictional, and any resemblance to real-life situations or individuals is coincidental. We do not endorse harmful or illegal activities. By continuing to watch, you acknowledge the content warning and proceed at your own discretion.
Story 1, Neon Nightmare. The night was dark and stormy as I drove along the desolate highway, my headlights cutting through the sheets of rain that lashed against my car. My gas gauge was perilously close to empty, and the nearest gas station was still miles away. Panic gnawed at the edges of my mind as I contemplated the possibility of being stranded in the middle of nowhere. The rain pounded on the roof of my car, a relentless drumbeat that seemed to taunt me with every passing mile. Finally, the glow of neon lights appeared on the horizon, and I heaved a sigh of relief. The gas station loomed like a beacon of hope, its flickering sign casting eerie shadows on the wet asphalt. As I pulled into the dimly lit parking lot, I couldn't help but notice that there were no other cars in sight. It was an unsettling sight, but desperation drove me forward. I parked my car next to the lone gas pump and stepped out into the cold, wet night. The wind howled like a banshee as I fumbled for my credit card and approached the pump. The gas station appeared abandoned, and a shiver ran down my spine. The overhead lights buzzed and flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced in the rain. I swiped my card and began to fill the tank, the monotonous sound of gasoline gushing into my car, the only comfort in this forsaken place. I glanced around nervously, my senses on high alert. That's when I noticed a figure standing near the gas station's entrance. The silhouette was tall and slender, almost skeletal, and the person wore a tattered raincoat that flapped in the wind. Their face was obscured by the hood, and I couldn't make out any features. My heart raced as I watched them stand perfectly still, seemingly unfazed by the torrential rain. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no response, just an eerie silence that hung in the air like a heavy fog. I felt a growing unease in the pit of my stomach, a primal instinct warning me that something was terribly wrong. I finished filling my tank as quickly as I could and practically threw my card back into my wallet. I darted back to my car, fumbling with my keys in my haste to escape this eerie place. The figure by the entrance remained motionless, still as a statue, and it sent shivers down my spine. As I slammed the car door shut, I turned the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life, and I hit the gas pedal hard, tires screeching as I sped away from the gas station. But as I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The figure from the gas station was now standing in the middle of the road, illuminated by the red glow of my taillights. Their hood had fallen back, revealing a face that was twisted and contorted, with hollow eyes that seemed to burn with malevolence. In their outstretched hand, they held a rusty, blood-stained knife. Panic overwhelmed me, and I swerved the car to avoid hitting the figure. The rain-slicked road made it difficult to control the vehicle, and I felt the car skid dangerously. But when I looked back again, the figure was gone, as if it had never been there. I drove for miles, my heart pounding in my chest, until I reached the safety of a brightly lit town. I pulled into a well-lit gas station, my hands trembling as I filled the tank once more. I told the attendant about the eerie gas station in the middle of nowhere, but he just shook his head and muttered something about an old abandoned station that had been closed for years. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that I stumbled upon something far more sinister than just an abandoned gas station. That figure in the rain haunts my nightmares, a face twisted in malevolence, a knife gleaming in the darkness. And I can't help but wonder if there are other lost souls out there, lured by the neon lights of that forsaken place never to return. Story 2, Twilight Station. The evening had settled into an inky blackness as I cruised down a desolate stretch of highway. The rain pelted my windshield like a barrage of tiny icy bullets, and the howling wind rattled my nerves. My gas gauge was inching perilously close to E, and the next town was still miles away. With each passing mile, my anxiety grew, gnawing at me like a relentless predator. The rain-drenched asphalt seemed to stretch on forever, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was trapped in some kind of twilight zone, a place where time and distance were warped. Then, like a lifeline in the abyss, I spotted a faint, flickering light in the distance. A gas station. Relief washed over me, and I steered my car toward it. But as I drew closer, the place looked more like a relic from a bygone era than a functional station. The neon sign above the station buzzed and sputtered, casting eerie shadows that danced like spectral wraiths. The canopy over the gas pumps creaked in the wind, its paint peeling away in long, jagged strips. I pulled up to a pump, and the rain intensified, as if the sky itself was warning me to turn back. I stepped out of my car, the rain soaking me to the bone in an instant. The gas station was silent, except for the sound of raindrops drumming on the pavement. There were no other cars, no attendants, just an unsettling quiet that sent shivers down my spine. I grabbed the nozzle and began to fill my tank, the gasoline flowing with an audible hiss. As I waited, I noticed something odd. The windows of the convenience store were boarded up, and the glass door was cracked and shattered, as though it had been the victim of some violent outburst. Unease crawled up my spine, and I decided to cut my losses and get back on the road as soon as the tank was full. But just as I was about to replace the nozzle, I heard a faint sound coming from the darkness beyond the gas station. It was a low, guttural moan, like the anguished cry of a wounded animal. My heart pounded in my chest as I turned to see a figure shambling toward me through the rain. It was a person, or at least it had been once. Their clothes were tattered and soaked, and their face was hidden beneath a hood. "Hey, are you okay?" I called out, my voice quivering. There was no response, just that eerie, unearthly moan. I felt a knot of fear tighten in my chest, and I dropped the nozzle, making a hasty retreat to my car. As I slammed the car door shut and fumbled for the keys, I stole one last glance at the figure. It had reached the gas pump, and in the dim light, I could see its hood had fallen back to reveal a face twisted by agony and decay. Its eyes were empty sockets, and its flesh was pallid and mottled. With trembling hands, I turned the key in the ignition, and my car roared to life. I sped away from that forsaken gas station, my heart racing as the rain-slicked road blurred before me. I didn't stop until I reached a bustling town, the rain and darkness giving way to the warm glow of streetlights and the hum of civilization. But even now, safe and far from that nightmarish place, I can't shake the feeling that I stumbled upon something unholy that rainy night, a gas station where the lost and damned still wander, their souls trapped in a perpetual twilight of torment. Story 3, Gas Station of the Forgotten Melody. The road stretched on like an endless ribbon of darkness, and my headlights seemed to cut through the inky night with futile determination. I had been driving for hours, the isolation of the desolate highway slowly gnawing at my sanity. My fuel gauge was dangerously close to empty, and the next gas station was supposed to be just around the corner, or so I thought. As I turned onto a side road, following the fading glow of a gas station sign, I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. The station appeared before me like a spectre, its lights flickering eerily. The pumps stood like sentinels in the night, and the neon sign overhead emitted a dim, sickly green light. It looked abandoned, but desperation gripped me and I pulled up to a pump. The rain began to fall in heavy sheets, and as I stepped out of my car, the chill in the air sent a tremor down my spine. The gas station seemed to exist in a time long forgotten, its pumps ancient relics of a bygone era. I swiped my credit card, and the machine emitted a series of unsettling mechanical whirs and clicks. A voice crackled from a long-forgotten intercom system. It was scratchy and distorted, almost inhuman. "Welcome," it whispered, sending a chill through me. "Please, fill your tank." As I grabbed the nozzle and began to pump gas, the feeling of being watched intensified. I glanced around, but the gas station was empty, or so it seemed. The rain fell harder now, obscuring my vision. That's when I heard it, a soft, haunting melody carried by the wind. It was a tune I had never heard before, sweet and melancholic. It seemed to be emanating from the darkness beyond the gas station, from a source unseen. I felt a compulsion, a strange desire to follow the music into the night. Against my better judgment, I left the gas nozzle hanging and walked towards the sound, my heart pounding in my chest. The melody led me to a decrepit building at the back of the station. It was a convenience store, its windows covered in grime and dust. The door creaked open as I pushed it, and I stepped into a place that felt like a forgotten nightmare. The shelves were lined with ancient rotting groceries, their labels faded and peeling. Cobwebs hung in the corners, and a layer of dust covered everything. But what caught my attention was the figure standing in the dimly lit store. A man, or what appeared to be a man, stood in the isolé, his back to me. He was hunched and emaciated, his skin pallid and sickly. He was dressed in tattered clothes, and his fingers traced the dusty shelves lovingly. I called out to him, but he didn't respond. Instead, he continued to hum the haunting melody, his voice a mournful lament that sent shivers down my spine. As I cautiously approached, I saw that his reflection in the dusty store window showed no face, just a featureless, shadowy void where his visage should be. My heart raced, and I stumbled back, the compulsion to flee overwhelming me. I rushed out of the store and back to my car, the gas nozzle still hanging limply by my side. As I sped away from that forsaken place, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled upon something ancient and malevolent. A gas station lost to time, a siren's song in the night, and a faceless figure haunting the darkness. To this day, the memory of that eerie gas station haunts my dreams, and the haunting melody plays in my mind like a cursed refrain, a reminder of a place where time stood still and the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred.